Welcome to the Golden Gems podcast. Today, we're taking a deep dive into Lenny Bruce, the comedian who died for the linguistic sins of every rebel who followed. And when we talk about him, we're not just looking at a punchline artist or, a simple provocateur.
No, not at all.
He was really the patient zero of the resistance. His entire life and his death, it was all defined by this legal war.
A coordinated legal war.
Yeah.
And it was waged specifically over language.
Exactly. And if you want to understand the debates we're still having now in 2026 about cancel culture or algorithmic censorship,
You have to go back to him.
you have to go back 60 years to the man who was fighting the exact same battle just with human censors.
And the core paradox, the thing you have to grasp about his life, is just so grim.
Yeah.
They didn't kill him with a bullet. They killed him with a dictionary. I mean, he was using comedy to conduct this controlled demolition of the American facade.
They forced a confrontation, right?
He did. He forced the culture to look at the hypocrisy of that whole post-war Eisenhower era, because he saw that the system would always rather outlaw a word than deal with the societal rot that word described.
So let's unpack that. The foundational architecture of his dissent. He was Leonard Alfred Schneider, born in 1925.
And he didn't come from some safe suburban background.
No, his university, so to speak, was the underworld. It was the burlesque houses, the strip clubs of the late 40s.
A brutal education, but an honest one. And his main professor was his mother, Sally Marr.
A force of nature, from what I've read, a dancer in MSc.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And she taught him about the tumbler, this kind of low-rent Jewish entertainer whose whole job was just to keep things chaotic.
To keep the energy high.
Right. And the tumbler was often the most honest person in the room because, well, they had nothing left to lose. Bruce internalized that.
And he learned something else there, didn't he? About authority.
He learned that authority always announces itself. He claimed that by 17, he could spot a plainclothes vice cop just by the rhythm of their footsteps.
2 beats, pause, hand near hip.
Exactly. He understood power not through its laws, but through its body language, its rigidity.
Which leads right into his signature weapon, the spritz. It's terrifying to his contemporaries. We call it a routine, but that's not what it was.
Not even close. The critics, they called it a verbal jazz solo, a stream of consciousness torrent.
Structured like a Charlie Parker bebop solo, right? Not setup, punchline.
Precisely. And that lack of structure, well, that was its power. It just bypassed your defenses because you were always trying to catch up.
At first, though, it didn't always work.
No, early on, he'd lose audiences completely. But when he mastered it, it was unstoppable. You have to remember the context. His peers are doing safe mother-in-law gags.
Suburban humor.
And Bruce is on stage asking why a country that just perfected the A-bomb is arresting people for saying cocksucker. He saw the stage as a witness stand.
Not a platform for entertainment. So when did that switch flip for him? The moment he realized he wasn't the sick one.
That was the absolute turning point. He realized the sick label the tabloids used was just a massive cultural projection.
So the sickness wasn't him.
The sickness was a culture that segregated water fountains, but outlawed 4-letter words. The sickness was the power they gave to those words out of fear and repression.
And he announces this with his 1959 album, The Sick Humor of Lenny Bruce. It's basically a manifesto.
A declaration of war against so-called good taste, which he saw as just a mask for systemic rot.
And that war was so tactical, you see it in the Religions, Inc. bit.
It's forensic. He's not just making fun of faith.
No, he's dismantling the commodification of it.
Reimagining the whole thing as a Madison Avenue boardroom. Priests and cardinals talking market share and franchise fees. It was brilliant cultural critique.
Which, of course, led him to try to breach the mainstream on The Steve Allen Show.
A disaster, but a legendary one. He tried to play the game. He delivered a completely sanitized set in a tux.
Looked like a nervous choir boy, I think one source said.
But you could still feel that subversive energy. And that taught him a painful lesson. Television was too compromised. The dark, uncensored club was the only church for his kind of truth.
And that led directly to his magnum opus, right? The Carnegie Hall concert in '61.
What a scene. A massive blizzard, but the place is sold out. People came for comedy.
And got a 4-hour philosophy lecture delivered at gunpoint.
That concert set the standard. The bit Christ and Moses is a masterclass. He has them visiting St. Patrick's Cathedral, just baffled by the opulence.
He's using sacred narratives to expose the profane nature of the institution.
It proves Religions, Inc. wasn't just a bit. It was his ongoing thesis.
But the real war, the one that broke him, it was all about semantics. He believed that suppressing words only made them more powerful.
That was his core thesis, so he tried to prove it. Live, on stage. He had the routine it's a preposition.
Where he deconstructs grammar itself.
To show how a simple preposition could be the difference between a description and a slur, he was literally attacking the grammar of segregation.
And then the most dangerous example of this, his linguistic exorcism.
Just listing every racial and ethnic slur he could think of one after another.
The idea being, what? To overdose the culture on its own poison.
Exactly. He thought if he repeated them until they were just meaningless sounds, they'd lose their power to hurt. The risk, of course, was that the audience would just hear the hate.
And as the state started closing in, his art just got darker. It shifted from comedy to documentation.
The Tribunal. His unrecorded work from 63-64. This was performance as martyrdom.
He'd bring actual court transcripts on stage.
And act out his own obscenity trial as a religious inquisition, playing all the parts. He was live documenting his own execution, and the Vice Squad was in the audience every single night.
Which brings us to the beginning of the end, the Café Au Go arrest, April 1964.
This wasn't a random bust. This was coordinated warfare by DAs across the country to bankrupt and break him.
And there's a gut-wrenching detail here that connects to everything that came after, the undercover detective.
The one who wore the wire was Randy Jurgensen. And Randy Jurgensen was George Carlin's childhood friend.
Think about that. The state didn't just use a wire, it used intimacy as a weapon.
And Carlin was there that night. He saw the whole raid. When the cops asked for his ID, he refused, said, "I don't believe in ID."
So they arrested him too, took him to the precinct with Bruce.
That moment, it defined everything. The torch wasn't passed, it was dropped on the floor between two friends and a badge. Carlin carried that like a war wound for 40 years.
And for Bruce, the effect was devastating. He stopped being a comedian.
He became a lawyer. He'd bring transcripts on stage, not for satire, but to desperately prove his innocence to the audience. That jazz rhythm
Was replaced by the drone of legalese. It's heartbreaking.
By 65, he was broken. Legally exiled, broke, performing to empty rooms. His death in 66 was an overdose, yes, but the morphine was for chronic pain. The real cause was an accumulative allergy to a society that demanded his silence.
And in that final violation, the police let photographers take pictures of his body.
The mission for silence was complete.
But the legacy isn't silence. He was the legal martyr. He died in the courtroom so Richard Pryor and George Carlin could live on stage.
He literally created the legal infrastructure for modern comedy. His posthumous pardon in 2003 was the state finally admitting it was wrong.
And Carlin's whole career feels like a 40-year revenge plot for that night.
It was. 7 dirty words, the Supreme Court case. That was him finishing the fight Bruce started, but with the legal precedent Bruce's suffering had created.
And the lineage goes on, right? Pryor inheriting Bruce's prosecutorial method.
When Pryor cross-examined racism in That Nigger's Crazy, he was using Bruce's tribunal technique, comedy, as testimony.
And you see that same calculation decades later with Dave Chappelle walking away from $50 million.
It's the exact same choice Bruce made. Financial suicide for creative sovereignty. Choosing poverty over performing your trauma on someone else's terms.
Even now, with someone like Cat Williams, when he uses receipts and documents,
he's mirroring Bruce, bringing court transcripts on stage. It's the idea that comedy is the last bastion of journalism when no one else will tell the truth.
But now there's a new threat. It's not human censors anymore, it's algorithmic suppression.
The ultimate terrifying irony.
The incident in March 2025 where YouTube flagged dozens of historical Lenny Bruce clips for hate speech.
Because the algorithm can't understand context. It can't distinguish between hate speech and a deep analytical discussion of hate speech. It just sees the words.
Which connects directly to this new frontier. Bruce fought for the right to be human. Now, his heirs are fighting for sovereign identity against AI.
Like the Carlin estate settlement. Fighting a machine puppeteering a dead man's soul.
Lenny Bruce is still the patron saint of the dangerous idea.
Yeah.
The one who taught us that sometimes to fix a sick society, you have to vomit the truth.
He paved the road. He broke the silence. He paid the price.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question for you as we look at these battles over content and context in 2026.
Did Lenny Bruce truly break the barrier for us? Or did his martyrdom just show us exactly where the perimeter of the cage is built?
Thank you for listening to the Golden Gems podcast. We'll be back next time with another deep dive. Until then, keep exploring, keep listening, and keep celebrating the power of uncompromising voices.